Part 1. I'm now going to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about weekends. What did you do last weekend?
Well, let's see. Last weekend... Oh, it was very exciting, actually. It was the beginning of the International Rugby Tournament, the Six Nations. Have you heard of that one? It's really good. It's got all the nations, England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Italy, France. And it's just such a good competition because it brings everyone together. Everyone goes to the pub and watch the game, and it's kind of a battleground inside the pub and on the pitch for everybody supporting your nation, really.
Do you prefer to spend the weekends with your family or friends?
I would say definitely my friends. You can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends, can't you? So you just have more in common with your friends, I suppose. So yeah, I just think hanging out with my friends is probably what I prefer to do.
What things do you like to do on the weekend?
Well, generally relax, we work hard enough during the week, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So yeah, generally go for walks, perhaps a Sunday lunch on Sunday, clearly. And yeah, relaxing, bit of a drinking culture of England, so a few drinks with friends, so something like that.
Now let's talk about mobiles or cell phones. How often do you use a mobile or cell phone?
Every day. It's become part of our staple diet, hasn't it, really? We use it all the time, so several times a day easily.
Have you had any problems using a mobile or cell phone?
Not so much using it. I've had problems with them, mainly not getting reception, things like that is sometimes a problem. Dropping them into water's been a problem as well. Didn't work very well after that.
Do you think you will use a mobile phone or cell phone more or less in the future?
I would say it would have to be more. Phones are progressing now, the iPhones, things like that, they're becoming so important to people. They need it for Google Maps and things like that, and getting around. People don't read maps anymore, they just use their GPS on their phone. Book tickets for the cinema. It's going to be, you can't live without them, basically. In the future it'll be even worse.
Do you like receiving presents?
Who doesn't? It's all about receiving with presents. Giving's not good at all. The bigger the better, of course. I'm still a child in that way. I don't even read the card on the presents. I just rip those open at Christmas and see what I've got.
Who was the last person you gave a present to?
Probably my mother and father for Christmas. Yeah, I got them some books. They've retired at the moment, so they're really into their reading, so I got them a couple of books that they wanted.
Is it better to give someone money rather than buy them a present?
I think sometimes, yeah. Instead of getting them something they don't want or they're just going to throw away, some tacky bit of plastic that they don't really need or want, it's better to give them some money so they can buy what they actually want.
Let's talk about films. How often do you watch films?
I don't actually watch films very often. Most of the films that I like to watch are independent films. But I'd say that I watch films, maybe one film a month.
Do you prefer to watch films on video or in a cinema?
Oh, most definitely I like to watch movies at the cinema more. I think most people watch films on video because it's a lot easier to watch them in the comfort of your own home. But for me, the cinema is the way to go because of the sound, just the whole atmosphere. You can have popcorn, Coke. The cinema is just much better for me to watch a film.
Do you think parents should control the kind of films their children watch?
Yes, I definitely think this needs to be done. I think it's very important for it to be the parents' decision and not just rely on the ratings that they give the films nowadays, but for the parents to know exactly what the film is about, because it might have to do with their morals or their beliefs. And so I think it's the parents' responsibility to be sure that their children are watching something that would fit with the beliefs and morals that they're trying to instill in their children.
Part 2. Now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. I'd like you to describe a business leader you respect and admire.
Well, there's actually quite a few, ranging from Alan Sugar to Steve Jobs, the famous Apple guy, to Anita Roddick, who was the founder and owner of Body Shop, which is still going to this day. It started off as a very small company and it grew enormously and expanded internationally in so many different countries. But the reason I admire this lady, she had such strong ethics, business ethos. All her products were not tested on animals, and she was one of the first ladies who really, insisted upon this, and so therefore nothing at all was tested on animals. She was heavily involved in fair trade. She did such a lot for the developing countries. All her products were natural. She gave a lot of work to the developing countries people, even to the point at Christmas time, if products arrived late or the packaging was late, she would still insist on using it and waiting for it. She was an inspiration to many. In fact, she made so much money. She was an international success, one very, very rich lady, but she's admired because it wasn't about the money. I think that's the main point here. Again, it's just her ethics, her business ethos, her help to the fair trade, to the developing countries. She was globally successful, extremely rich and wealthy. She had outstanding morals and inspired women across the world to go for their dreams, to believe in something and to achieve success. People follow and still follow in her footsteps today. Her business ideals, her ethical beliefs, and that is what is so great about this woman.
Thank you. Part 3. I'm now going to ask you some general questions about the topic you've just discussed. Let's talk about leaders. What qualities make someone a good leader?
Well, a leader basically has to have that magical quality, charisma. It's difficult to define, but basically it's something that makes other people want to follow them. They instinctively have a kind of trust in that person. Not easy to say why. I think we all recognise it when we see it, but people will be happy to put their life in that person's hands. Charisma, I think we call that quality.
Is there any difference between men and women as leaders?
No, I don't really think there is. Some people say maybe women are a bit more empathetic. Perhaps they're more keen to try and get agreement with other people before they make a decision, maybe build a consensus. Possibly men are a bit more likely to work in a more risky way, a bit more cut and thrust. But ultimately, I think the kind of qualities that make you want to be a leader are in some ways maybe quite masculine qualities anyway. I mean, if you look at real examples from the world, political business leaders who are women, I wouldn't say, Margaret Thatcher or whatever, I wouldn't say there are particularly different qualities to them that make them different from male leaders. No, so I don't really think there is a difference.
Do leaders have a responsibility to behave in a certain way in public?
I don't really think they have a responsibility to behave in a certain way, but I think they should behave in a certain way because they have an immense platform on which they can sort of spread influence and so on. And so many people look up to these people, especially, business leaders and so on. They're heroes to so many people. They should try and consider their position when they make decisions and, understand that they are a role model for others. But I don't really think they should feel too much pressure to do that.
Are people born leaders, or is this something they learn how to become?
I think a lot of people would like to learn how to become leaders. I'm sure there's lots of people who do sort of business classes and things like that, wanting to be the next great business leader, but ultimately I think it is something you're born with, unfortunately. You only have to look at a school playground. You'll see the natural leaders there running around from a very young age. Again, it's difficult to see what it is that's making those people leaders, but I think you can inspire respect as you get older, maybe by becoming an expert in a particular field. But whether that's the same as being a leader, I don't really think so. So I pretty much think it's something you're born with, yeah.
Thank you.
How to extend your answer in speaking. When taking the IELTS exam, students often wonder whether the answer should be long or short. Frankly, there is no specific answer to this question. The answer should be enough. So how to determine the sufficient answer? Firstly, the answer given isn't too short because the examiner will show how good English you can speak. So if you only answer by, "I like pop music," your mark will be low, and vice versa. It shouldn't be too long because the examiner won't prefer to listen to the familiar topics for more than 2 minutes with each answer. In Part 2 and 3, it's time for you to show off your English ability to raise your band score. Then my advice for the length of an answer in Part 1 shall be among the 3 sentences. More than 3 is not necessary. The most important point you should focus on is the use of key language in your answer. Here are some tips to lengthen your answers and hope it works for you. Feelings and opinions. It will be easier for you to extend your answer by adding the reason or showing the emotion about the question asked. It helps the examiner to understand clearly your answer. Question: what's your favorite kind of music? Short answer: I like pop music. Longer answer: I'm in love with pop music because it helps me to feel better whenever I encounter difficulties. Contrasting details. Another way to make your answer longer is simply using the contrast ideal by adding but, however, in contrast to show the opposing idea. Question: do you prefer living in a house or a flat? Short answer: I prefer living in a house. Longer answer: I prefer living in a house with my family. However, when I get married, I think I will move to a modern flat to enjoy its smart facility. Combining details. You can also add some detailed information for your answer with some linking words like and, with, also, in addition, furthermore. Question: what do you often do on weekends? Short answer: I often clean my house. Longer answer: at the weekend, I often clean my house and cook for my family. In addition, I also spend time talking with my parents about work and life. Past comparisons. You can make your answer longer by comparing with what you used the past and what you take on at present. Question: what do you want to be in the future? Short answer: I want to become a teacher. Longer answer: I used to wish to become a businesswoman when I was young, but I gradually fell in love with kids and decided to become a teacher. Adding reasons. Your answer shouldn't be just an answer. You should give the reason for what you think or choose by using some words like because, for, since, due to. Question: which one do you prefer, go out for dinner or cook at home? Short answer: I prefer cooking at home. Long answer: I prefer cooking at home because my mother is a good chef and she often teaches me how to cook delicious meals. Future. If something will change in the future, you can make use of the structure will plus verb or be going to verb. Question: what do you do? Short answer: I work as a teacher. Long answer: currently I am working as a teacher at the primary school, but 2 months later, I will move to the international school to teach Chinese students. Contrast opposing idea. Sometimes you'll be asked to give the opinion about some matters. Remember to add although, though, however, to show that you consider both sides. Question: do you play football? Short answer: yes, I really love playing football. Longer answer: yes, I really love playing football. However, my mother often prevents me from playing that game for the silly reason I'm a girl. Giving examples. By giving some realistic examples, your answer would be easier to understand and persuasive. Question: do you and your sister have the same interest? Short answer: no, we're totally different. Longer answer: no, we're totally different. For instance, my sister is fond of playing with dolls, and I'm in love with Japanese comics. Frequency. One way to extend your answer is using some frequency words such as often, usually, never, always. Question: what do you do in the summer? Short answer: I often go to the beach. Longer answer: in the summer, normally I go to the beach with my family. I and my mother often enjoy sunbathing, while my father tries some sports games like water skiing and snorkeling.